So as I said, I'm Heather Lamb. I am the education consultant from Texas and lead these virtual user groups. And I'm glad that we have a large group joining us today. It's a wonderful day. I was telling my panelists that are going to join us, I'm actually, with those of you that know me, I'm sitting in an airport, or not an airport, I'm in a hotel. But it's kind of nice, although I need to get out there and enjoy it. I'm in South Padre Island today. Well, I've been here for a couple of days. So just some of the joys, but unfortunately I didn't have enough, not much time to enjoy it, but it's a beautiful view. So I'm sure it's a little chillier up north in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where that's where I live. But I'm glad that you're joining us for wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from. Our reach has started getting outside of Texas, so if you're joining us outside of Texas, welcome. Pretty much everything that we talk about is pretty universal. There's just a couple of times if we talk anything about our standards, and that's really the only reason that I keep it at Smart Texas, because Texas is one of those states that doesn't join the Common Core. So. But it's pretty much standard information that can help you to better utilize our products more effectively and get student engagement. And yeah, Jeff, it's a tough location. Somebody's got to do it. So as I said, here's our back channel. So GoToWebinar is a great format, but it doesn't allow for such interaction. So started using the back channel for some added discussion. So what back channels are, so you can type in if one of our panelists, one of our presenters today says something, you can add value by maybe you have another resource that is similar, or something else that you've done, or you want to ask questions of these people. The back channel stays live for a month. I set it up. So make sure you get the Smart Texas BUG-December 2012. Sorry about that. I need to get standard with those things. So if you want to join us for that would be great to have that back channel. And then, like I said, after the session, that'll stay live, so you can go back and see what other people have to say. But if you want to introduce yourself there and tell us who you are and where you're from. So there's the picture of me. I'm going to get a current picture, but I am the education consultant in Texas, and then my colleagues Sandy Hill and Luis Morales join me, and we just have an awesome Texas team. I'm on Twitter, so if you want to follow along, I'd love the professional learning network that Twitter provides, and I don't ever really typically do it on my phone. On my computer. I do it on my phone, and so it's at those times when I'm waiting for something, that's when I peruse that, and I learned so much, because there is so much out there, and there's so many experts out there. So you can ask questions of those experts, you can find out information. There's just, the web is a vast, it's just wow, and everything changes. So it's just a way I love to use. We do, and one of my winter goals is to update our Pinterest page. So I do have a Smart Texas Pinterest page that I just find some Smart Notebook stuff out there. We have a Facebook fan page. The cool thing about our fan page is you don't have to be on Facebook. So if you can click on it, just go to the Smart Texas, put Smart Texas at the end, and you don't have to be on Facebook to be able to see what we're posting out there. If there's a link, the link will ask you to log into Facebook, but you can just copy and paste that. So not a bad thing. Sandy and Luis help me. Sandy does kind of the Houston area up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, that part of Texas, and Luis works in the valley up to probably the Panhandle, but I support both of them in the state. So my goal is to help you better utilize your products and get those really cool student engagement things happening. And as Christina did, you can post, if you have questions as I'm going along, really would love, and I know this is because I just finished classes and I rarely said anything in my classes, but you can raise your hand, and I'd love for us to hear your voice. So if you have a question that you would love to say it orally instead of chatting it, please do that. Raise your hand. I'll watch that. I've got Jeff on the back end also watching as well. So there is that raise your hand feature. As always, I am recording the session, and I've started posting all of these on my YouTube channel. That is, if you go to my website, you will find those. I also have a goal to add the resources, so the files And then while we're talking about this, I haven't done a good job, and I apologize. I haven't done a good job with sending out certificates, so that's on my task list. Those of you that know me a little more, that I am back in school. I'm working on a PhD, and so I'm, dividing my time. My PhD is in educational technology, so it's very, very pertinent to everything, but it's kind of my nights were spent studying versus doing some other things. So yeah, Stacy is saying, if somebody else, but she says, we started, I hear some noise, but I don't hear you. So unless someone else can, I'm guessing, because I haven't seen anyone else. So Jeff, can you pop Stacy a message and tell her, yeah, we've started? So just so she knows, we have started. It might be her doing maybe her speakers or something. So we'll see. What else can I tell you? But join us, please. Raise your hand. Then today's meet, I am using the internet browser. This is probably one of my most favorite new things in Notebook 11 because I didn't have to type anything. So I'm looking, Jeff Samuelson's joining us for Birdville, Kay Cole from Fort Bend. I saw Christina's from Katy, Debbie Scott from Preston Hollow, Mendy, Christina from Jewett. I think that might be Christina, and then some people excited for today's session. Odessa's here. So just keep that going along. It's a really cool way to have that back channel. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we have a really great group. So I've introduced the back channel. I'm going to share something because if you noticed on some of my pages, my cute little snow globe here, and I've got some snowflakes and a snowman. Those are smart gallery collections, and I don't know if you're familiar with them. There's a really, really favorite one that I like. So I'm going to show that real fast before we get into our teacher features today. So who do we have joining us today? We've got Jeff Peterson from Lamar Consolidated, Lisa Gosser from Preston Hollow Presbyterian School, Mendy Hayes from Trinity Christian Academy, and Rafranz Davis from Rafranz had joined us past, but she was at a different school. She's now in Grand Prairie ISD in the Dallas-Fort Worth area from Grand Prairie High School. Don't forget about my digital dashboard, and then I already went ahead and gave you the date for the next session. It's going to be January 15th, and so so that's going to be our next date, and I'll tell more about what that session is going to be. So I wanted to just to remind you of this. So I've got some pictures. Let me go ahead and advance because I wanted to show you this. So do you see the cute snowman in the background and the little snowflakes? The snowflakes are a little tricky to see, I think. They're there. Maybe they're not. They're behind that because I added the snowman kind of after the fact. So that might be a little different to see. There's the snowflakes right there, a little bit different. So there's these really cute graphics. If I go to the Smart Exchange, in the Smart Exchange, there's a gallery collection. So if I go to the Home button, and this is another reason to get you or your teachers to make sure that you have a login to the Smart Exchange. But one of the ways you can always do a search, but you can go over here to right here to File. So if you click on File Type, this gives you all the different files. This is so you can start finding your search. But I just want to go in here and show you that when I click on Gallery Collections, we have all these awesome gallery collections. These collections will go into Smart Notebook. So into my content of Smart Notebook. So if you're looking for fractions, fraction pies, poetry, whatever, these are gallery collections. And I've said this before, but I just thought it was worth repeating because they have some cute graphics. If you type in here robots and cupcakes, there's a publisher that, and there's a lot of them, but this one just remembered really recently about this. So look at this stuff. You have boys and girls. You have there's some lessons. If I come over here and look at all types, I've got 62 Smart Notebook lessons that are done by Robots and Cupcakes. I've got a dual user, some dual user lessons. If you don't have a dual board, if you don't have an 800 series board or a dual board, don't let that limit you, because you could still get 2 kids up there. You can just take turns. There's gallery collections, there's manipulatives, there's images, and there's even widgets that have been created by robots and cupcakes. But I'm going to focus in, I'm going to encourage you to search these manipulatives and these images and widgets, but I'm going to go to gallery collections. When I search gallery collections, they're gallery, like here's a Halloween math, which Halloween is past this year, but for next year, it might be a good thing to review. But when I come down here, there's a winter holiday gallery collection. I can preview it. So if I click on the preview button, there's 104 pieces of clip art. So some of those are snowman buttons. Coal, I guess, and lights. You can see there's a ton of these things. In the manipulatives, there's actually some interactive things that you can customize. So where do these go? Well, let me pull up my notebook file and show you. So when I click, sorry, I'm doing this kind of a little bit backwards. Let me do this. If I click on the download button, when I click here on the download button, it's going to ask me, do I want to open and save? I've already done this once, so I'm not going to do it again. You can click save. You just have one additional step. If you click save, it's going to put an icon on your desktop. If that's where you tell it to go, that'll be a gallery collection. It has a little folder. If you click open, and I'm doing this on my Windows computer, so this is the process on the Windows side, and I believe it's the same thing on the Mac. You may have to go into it may go into your downloads, and you have to open it that way. But if you click open, when you do this, that will then, if you go over into your gallery, that actually puts you into your My Content section. So let me click here and show you. Come on, little computer. So that goes into My Content. My Content is stuff specifically on my computer. So I click on this. If I come down here, and go, and there it is, Winter Holiday Gallery. And there's, look at all the fun, cute, so you can see it, it's on the side. I'm kind of scrolling down between that picture. There's some really fun little graphics. Snowman stuff, little Christmas ornaments, stockings. You know, I've seen people, pull out and decorate a Christmas tree for a cool, fun thing, or decorate, use that, create a snowman. So it's got all the parts that your kids that could be a center if it's, they're kind of a little primary, but they add that. All right. Kay and Stacy, you guys, you guys are in the same district, so I'm just looking at the questions. So maybe something locally is what I'm guessing. I would get out and come back in maybe. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you because there's a lot of really neat things. It's called Robots and Cupcakes, so I would definitely look at that off from the Smart Exchange. So put some of that stuff out there and see what happens with your kids, and I'd love to hear about it. Well, I'm on this page, and I'm on this page for a reason, because that's all I had to say today, because I want to get right into our teacher features. And this is the best thing about the Smart Texas Virtual User Group, is I told my panelists, my teachers today, that I am only as successful as the teachers allow me to be. So I can share knowledge, but the best validation is when somebody says, oh my gosh, I learned this, and this is what I did, and this is how I shared it with other teachers. And so we have excellent evidence of that today from our 4 presenters. So I got Lisa Gossard, as I introduced earlier, Mendy Hayes, Rafranz Davis, and Jeff Peterson, who are joining us. So Jeff is going to start off, and some of you are using Smart, I'm not really sure. So all right, so we're going to do a poll right here, because I am seeing a bunch of people that are saying they can't hear. So if you can hear, before we get into the teacher features, if you can hear me, can you raise your hand? All right. So I do have people that can hear, so I'm seeing hands raised. So I'm guessing that it might be a local problem. You know, I guess I could take a poll later. I don't include a phone number, only because it's sensitive. I don't hear, but I can start adding a phone number in with the the registration. So I'm guessing because we do have people that are able to hear, that it may be some local things going on, is what I'm guessing. And I apologize. Yeah, I know that I sound draggy, and I'm wondering if so I think what happens, so Jeff says I sound draggy every once in a while, and I honestly think that it's because I'm in the hotel, and I'm on a network cable. I mean, I'm on wireless, so I think that's the dragginess. So I apologize for that. So let's see. So I'm not going to go in. I think what happens is when I go into the internet is when it kind of wigs out. So I apologize. I'm going to probably send my I'm probably going to send my computer in. So I apologize for that. So I think we'll just get through it today, and we'll work on it. So I apologize. You could probably go back and listen to the webinar. So that's so we'll make do with it, and I apologize, but it's like, you know, coming in at the hotel. All right, it's the magic technology, and we'll just push the limits. Let's see, someone's saying, are the people having problems on wireless? That can cause problems as well. So thanks for that, Molly. We'll make do with it and see what happens. So I apologize, and we'll just get going. But anyway, back to what I was saying is I'm only as successful, so I want to give these guys a chance to share some really cool stuff. So Jeff's going to start, and then Lisa's going to share a really cool idea for professional development. We've got some professional development ideas, and we have some ideas, just some pretty cool ideas in general. So let me go ahead and switch over to, I'm going to make Jeff Peterson the presenter. And he's going to share, and I'm going to close the file while he's doing that to make it so that we can see if I can get it better for the sound. All right.
Okay. I'm hoping everyone can see and hear me. I upgraded to Windows 8, and so I've got to make sure I'm not having issues. It's had fun with certain things, so I'm still working on some of that.
Well, I can hear you great, and I'm going to mute my mic, but I can hear you great, and I can see your screen, so I'm guessing everyone else can. So take it away.
Good to know. All right. Good to know. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'm just going to go over, you joined the webinar a couple months ago. I went through the Smart Response Connector for Eduphoria. Absolutely phenomenal tool. It came out late in the summer. I introduced my teachers to it right away in the school year, talked with Heather a lot on it, done quite a bit with it. I have teachers that are using it all over. This has been an absolute wonderful tool in my district. It's gotten the Smart Response clickers out of the closet. The teachers are dusting them off, and they're now fighting over them because it is such a simple system to use. It didn't require any extra work on their behalf. It actually made their life easier because before they had to go and scan bubble sheets. They don't have to scan bubble sheets. They log into Eduphoria after the assessment's been completed, and the results are there. They never even leave the classroom. It has been a wonderful thing. What we've run into is of course, just like anything, it's brand new, so we have to work out the kinks and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So what I've got in this presentation addresses just several little tips and tricks that I've run into as I've presented. I'm going to go to full screen since I don't need regular yet. All right. A couple of things I'll address: numeric answers, text answers, lengths, punctuation, special characters. renaming data files, and I will get to those one by one. First one I ran into, numeric answers. This is, of course, the math teachers. First thing out of their mouth, I want to know if I can do my numbers and situations such as that. It does accept numerical answers. Eduphoria accepts numerical answers, so already they have it through a griddable on their bubble sheets. On the clickers, it's a very simple process of typing in the numbers. At this point, I have not figured out if with the XEs, the Smart Response XEs, if it's going to accept using special symbols like the square root symbol and such. Tentatively, I don't think it does, because I don't see anything in Eduphoria that supports these special characters. I could be wrong, but I have not seen anything yet that supports those kind of character symbols. So if the kids try to answer the square root of 5, unfortunately, it just doesn't look like it's going to be too cooperative. It does have a number limitation. I've got that up on the screen already, 9,999.999. That is the actual highest, largest number you can use. So anybody tries to do a 10,000 as the answer, unfortunately, it won't work. It does do positive or negative, so that works out really well. I did figure out a neat little one when I was trying to make the answer 0.5. It wouldn't let me do 0.5 on the clicker. You have to answer it 0.5, and then it works just fine. That just seemed like a simple thing, but fortunately it didn't make any difference and doesn't change the value, so it's fine either way. When you do a plus or a negative number on at least a Smart Response PD, it turns into you have to type in the number first. So if I want -5, I type in 5 and then hit the plus minus symbol on the clicker, and it changes to negative, and it takes it just fine. If you're not familiar enough with setting negative values within Eduphoria, I do have a little screen capture here. When I set up a question, I have to go into my options, and I have to tell it to allow negative numbers. I have to check this checkbox. Generally, by default, that's unchecked, and it was frustrating me because I couldn't figure out how to get a negative value in there. And I started clicking and realized, oh, I just have to check that box and problem solved. Another nice thing it works out really well, 0.5 is equal to 0.50. Oftentimes students won't round off, they won't drop that last zero, they'll put it in as 0.50. I've seen a lot of scanning programs that interpret that as the wrong answer because they didn't drop the zero. That zero has no value. Smart Response, it is not picky. That was real nice when I was testing that out and came back. I could add as many zeros as I wanted to the end of it, and it was going to work out just fine. All right. Next thing, text answers. Unfortunately, this was one I really wanted working, and text answers in the general sense of it do not work. That is an Eduphoria limitation, nothing to do with the Smart Response or the connector. It actually is an Eduphoria limitation. It's actually quite humorous because if a kid does text, if you set a question up as I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's got a specific name that it's like an open-ended question. If they were doing it on bubble sheets, it would leave a paragraph box. If you create a question open-ended within Eduphoria, the kids can actually text in an answer, but Eduphoria treats it as a scale question. You as the teacher would later on go back and assign a point value. If I set it on a scale of 1 to 5, I would go in after reading their answer and say they got 4 out of 5 points for that question. That was something that was disappointing. Later on, I actually will show you where if you do use that question, you can actually still collect answers that way, texting answers. You just have a little more work on your end because you have to pull that information from a log file, and I'll show you all about that in just a few brief seconds. I love using this statement, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. If you've never known why you see that statement a lot, it uses every letter of the alphabet. That's why I like having that. All right. Another one, assessment title. Couple little bug things I have discovered as working around with it. this has frustrated a couple of teachers, and I was bound and determined to figure it out because I love the connector so much. I wanted to make sure that these teachers understood what was going on, to work out any kinks they might have to make it successful in their class. Long assessment titles, I have found that on several occasions this actually caused problems when it came to trying to upload assessments, and occasionally students being able to log into the assessment. The most common time I run into it is when an assessment is shared within Eduphoria. If you've shared an assessment, it ends up adding the text from whatever the teacher's name to the end of the assessment title. So in this case, I happen to choose one of those very long names. And if you didn't know Arnold Schwarzenegger's middle name, Alois, there it is. But this would be like an excessively long title, and I don't know where that limitation is coming from, if it's the connector, if it's the receivers that don't like it, because when you use the clickers within Eduphoria, the clickers are looking, when it has to join a classroom, the classroom it joins is actually the assessment title, that whatever the title is from Eduphoria. So it would be trying to join this as the actual classroom, and that may be part of the limitation. I have sent that to the Smart Response, the Smart Tech support, and they're looking into it. All right, the next one, this was our funnest one, punctuation. I have found it is not a friendly, it is not a friend of punctuation. Smart Response Connector for Eduphoria, I just tell everybody, I know there are a couple of characters that work, but generally I just tell everybody, avoid all symbols, punctuations, paragraph markers, symbols, whatever it is, just avoid them all. Stick to numbers and letters, nothing else. It is something I frequently have found teachers have been frustrated for one reason or another, and the major errors I have found have all revolved around punctuation. The biggest error of them all that I've seen is the nice ampersand or the and symbol. It hates that symbol. If you worked with Smart Connector, I've actually heard from other people throughout the state. They've emailed questions to me about it. This symbol, what will happen is if you create a test by saying chapter 7 and 8 assessment, that's what you named it within Eduphoria. You download your SOS file. Everything looks like it's starting up correctly. When the students go to join a class, they select that class, and again, it selects by the assessment name. What it will do is it will immediately download the question set onto the clickers. They will never have an opportunity to sign in with their ID number. It just goes straight to the question set, and it lets them answer A, B, C, D. If they hit submit, they hit finish, it just goes nowhere. It doesn't actually collect it because the students actually never signed in with their ID numbers. That was one of the big ones. The other reason I push people away from symbols, I don't remember which symbol specifically it was, but I know there was another symbol that was used. This one allowed students to sign in. The students took the assessment, completed the assessment, pressed enter. When they were working through the connector, and they pressed finish and went to upload, no matter what they tried, the data would never upload. So that one was even more frustrating because the students had already completed the assessment. It just would not, the connector would not allow the data to upload to Eduphoria. And again, it was due to one of these special characters in the assessment title. I just wish I could remember which one it was. I just don't remember which specific symbol it was on that one. And what we literally had to do on that was go back, and when I show you the connector logs, you can find what the students answered. Fortunately, that data is not lost. As long as they signed in with their ID number and they pressed finish and you stop the assessment, the data gets stored locally on your computer. We had to go back, pull that data. I filtered through it, and I have made it nice and easy for the teacher to read. He pulled the data, gave the answers back to the kids, created a new assessment the next day and had the kids re-click their answers into the system so that he could submit it. It was right at the end of a grading cycle. He was in a rush. He didn't have time to hand grade it, and I don't blame him. The connector definitely made it easier, but it did cost him about a half a class period the next day having the kids re-click their information back in. All right. Renaming an assessment, this was just a small bug that it's actually not a bug. This was on the teacher side. They created an assessment, downloaded the SOS file from Eduphoria, went back into Eduphoria, renamed the assessment, and then couldn't figure out why their data wouldn't upload. Because they could still take the assessment with the original name, but because the original name is no longer in Eduphoria, there's no way to upload that data in Eduphoria. So that's just a small little, please be advised, watch out for that little hang up. The next thing I've got on here, the data files. I mentioned earlier, if you do have an error, it stores data files on your computer. Don't worry, these are all fictitious names. I don't have real names on here. When you do the assessment with Eduphoria, you've worked through the connector, the kids have answered, there is actually a text file. As you can see, it's got the student names, it's got the question number, and how they answered. Question number, what they answered, all the way across. This was what definitely saved us when it came to the errors we did have, because the teachers did not lose the original data. I put on here the location of where it can be found. It's in your documents folder. Whatever user you're logged in as on the computer, there's a folder called Eduphoria Connector Logs. The data gets saved directly in there. I've actually got one of them up right here. Here's my folder. I'm in my documents, Eduphoria Connector Logs, and here's every time I've gone through and done the log. It's actually a very simple thing. And I had mentioned earlier about the limitation of texting. Here is one of the connector logs I did where I actually used an open-ended question and the students texted in an answer. You as the teacher could go in there and open up this log file and get their texted in answer that way. And then you would still have to manually do the percentages, but at least you would know all their answers of everything else, whether they were right and wrong, and then you could pull in that texted answer straight out of the log file. Eduphoria does not record that texted answer in any location that I've ever been able to find. All right, and I think that is all I've got on that. If you haven't had an opportunity to use it and you're using Eduphoria in your district, this is a phenomenal tool. I cannot stress it enough. It is such an easy tool to use. And that is what I've got for you today. I'm going to turn it back to Heather.
All right. He has always awesome stuff. So I was like, oh, I want to cut you off. But if you haven't emailed him, he's got this great little notebook file that's up there. So check that stuff out. It's just incredible support. All right. I am just going to flip over quickly to Lisa Gossard. And Lisa is going to share. She doesn't have anything. I'm going to, actually, I'm going to make, I don't think she has anything to share on her computer. So let me, Lisa, you don't have anything to share, is that right? Share on your screen,
no,
right?
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
What? Oh, no, I'm not showing, I'm just telling.
Okay, so I'm just going to flip over to me, and you can keep on talking.
Okay. Well, I want to thank Heather for asking me to share today, and the idea I'm sharing is about flipping professional development. I got this idea after seeing a presentation about using the Smart Recorder to record lessons for a flipped classroom. And this presentation was part of a Smart Private Schools user group that was started by Trinity Christian Academy, and I think there's probably more coming on that later, but just a little shout out to them. But anyway, the presenter did this session about using Smart Recorder to record her lessons, and you know, the Smart Recorder just makes all that so easy. Our school is K through 6, and we just really aren't into flipping for our kids yet, but I thought about trying it out for a training session that I was going to be holding about the activity builder. So just like with our students, you know that you have all different levels of background knowledge and skill levels with our teachers too. So I recorded the lesson about how to do activity builders and sent it to my teachers, sent the recording to them. And then on our training day, I think it really did help get everyone kind of on a more equal playing field in terms of the vocabulary, knowing what we were talking about, and also just understanding the process. And the teachers said that they thought it was helpful to see that ahead of time. And they also said they thought they could use that recording as sort of a refresher when they went back to do an activity builder activity if it had been a while and they'd forgotten things. I've only done this flipped PD once, and when I do it again, I know some things I'll change. I know I'll make my video a little more detailed, but I think it was a good learning experience for me, a good experience for the teachers, and it helped us know that flipping isn't just for the students.
All right.
So that's it.
Very cool, very cool. And I was clicking around and I meant to mute myself. I apologize. So I asked Lisa because, you know, we tend to think flipping for students, like she said, but I thought it was just a really neat idea. So those of you that have an interest in flipping, if Lisa, if it's okay, do you mind if they would reach out to you if they want to know some additional information?
Oh, absolutely. I would share gladly anything.
Okay, perfect. So, and I'm starting to really even think about dabbling. So these webinars are great resources. I mean, you don't have to show the whole thing, but you can you know, try out part of it or just show part of it and use that as, say, watch this part and then we'll talk about it. So, you know, you might start thinking about how your virtual reach is. And so great evidence by Lisa. And she's really nervous, but she did phenomenal today. So I'm excited that she joined us to share that because it's better. You know, I don't want to give the information secondhand. I want somebody to tell me how I did it, and she did it, and she has experiences. So I want to thank Lisa, and I will include her email in this file, and if you have any questions, you definitely reach out to her. So with that, Lisa, I'm going to mute you. Oh, okay, you're welcome. Thanks. You're welcome. With that, I am going to turn it over to Mendy Hayes, and Lisa actually referenced Mendy. Mendy is from Trinity Christian Academy, and Trinity Christian Academy is at one of our showcase schools in the Dallas area. So if you're looking for a best practice model or what they're doing, Mendy she would be a great contact. Let me make you, hold on just a second. You're muted. There you go. You're unmuted now, but if you're looking for a model, you know, they've got boards, they've got interactive projectors, our 40WI, so Mendy is a great contact for that, and she's got her I teach at a Smart Showcase school, so in the Dallas area, but really easy access to get to, so Mendy, take it away.
All right, thank you, and welcome everyone for attending today. And yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about Lisa too, so I'm going to give her a shout out. But I'm going to get started so we have plenty of time to get to Rafranz as well. But I wanted to share exactly, Heather had asked me to share how we started this user group and kind of where this came from. So I have to give credit to my colleague, Lori Springer, who really came up with this idea and runs our SMART user group. We call them the DAPS, the Dallas Area Private School SMART user group. So she actually was not at the time an SEE, a SMART exemplary educator, but I believe, I think in my heart that this was one of the areas that kind of gave her that ranking because she spearheaded group and just has taken it to, I think, an excellent level. So she got the idea by while she was attending the Ennis Smart User Conference, and so she decided that she had some ideas that she wanted to get a group that was more conveniently located but had some similar needs. And as a private school, we don't necessarily operate the same as a public school, so that's where we kind of fine-tuned it and went with the private schools. She also knew that she wanted to kind of take a break from the virtual world and really see people and meet people face-to-face, which I think has been one of our successes. Also, we just wanted to continue to learn what other schools are doing and how they can use those smart products. So it kind of all began in that first Lori and I met together, and I just showed her how she can Google names of different schools and the IT people that finding those through their web pages, and we just got their contacts. We also got Heather was an incredible help as well and gave us several names of people that she knew that attended a virtual user group or connections that she's made. And then we took it to our communications department, who Kendall Ellis, and we decided that we needed a logo, kind of to make our get our stamp for what we were going to be about. And so that's what you see at the top here is our logo for our user group. And to me, that kind of says something about our group. In that we've taken this very seriously, and we're here for the long haul. This is not something that's just going to be randomly, we've really thought through this situation. So and then we just picked a date, created a flyer, and we emailed those other groups. This was our first flyer that we sent out, and to me, I wanted to show this because it wasn't very hard to do, but to me it looks very professional. And our first meeting, as you can see in this area down here, we asked people to come with some ideas and share of how we were going to set up future meetings as well. And so then we also set an agenda for that first meeting, and I think that's also what makes it successful in our user group, is that we have an agenda that we operate by. And so this is kind of what we had decided to use during our agenda for this first meeting. We just set up time, and then we asked 3 different teachers from different schools to present, and they brought a best lesson that they could present as well. And then we had a time where we established that would be the setup of the group, and what time would we meet? Is 4:30 to 5:30 a good time? How many times? Initially, we even said we would meet quarterly, but I think one of the things that you have to think about too, if you ever would consider setting up a user group, is you have to have some flexibility of changing some of the things that you establish, in that we now meet only 3 times a year. Quarterly ended up being a little bit too much. It wasn't realistic to meet monthly, and so those are some of the things that we talked about that very first meeting. As you can see, this is our latest flyer, and to me it's kind of evolved and taken on you can see our logo up here at the top. And then we also talk at the meeting about what we will talk about. We ask for people, do they have any suggestions for the next meeting of what they would be interested in learning about. And so that's where Lisa had learned about, was this user group, where we were showing how people can use the smart recorder to record their lessons. And so I think that's wonderful that she learned about that in our smart user group and then has taken that to another level. So during that first meeting, we established a format of what we were going to do, and we decided that we would rotate the schools so other schools would also have an opportunity to host, and we'd get to visit and see how they are using their products in the other schools as well. Lori would continue to lead and organize, which she has done an excellent job every time that it comes around. She's the one who sends out emails, gets the flyers set up. She is the contact person. Everyone knows in the group that they can field their questions to Lori as well. And so she's done just an excellent job in doing that. We also asked the host school to pick a presenter that they know that's using the products well, but that we also want to include presenters from other schools, because that also then brings more people and gets more people involved. And we also, I wanted to mention here, we do ask people to present that we know provide quality material for us as well. Then we have established, too, then some guidelines as far as what the host school responsibilities would be. And so we ask that they provide a campus, directions to the campus and a campus map if they have that. We also ask if they have a presenter that would be helpful and useful to present that day. Place signs on the doors for directions when people arrive on campus and make it convenient for them to find the location of the school. But we always ask for refreshments, because as teachers we love food, right? And so the refreshments are a must. And then we also ask that they designate someone from their school who will take notes during that meeting that then can be compiled and sent in an email to the group following that meeting as well. And then we also, I think, to me, Heather has been just crucial in this area, where we also show some upcoming products or new. Our first meeting, we talked about the 3D camera, and we talked about that. I believe, Heather can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was before it was even out on the market. She showcased that for us. Then we went to Bishop Dunn one time for our meeting, and we looked at the multi-touch board, which was fascinating. And then we also, our last meeting, we talked about the new light rays projector, which TCA has put in several of those, and we're having great success with that as well. One of the reasons why I think we're successful is we have 5 to 6 different schools that attend each time that come to the user group. That's how I made connections with Lisa. Lisa's my new friend that we actually even saw each other at another conference that was non-SMART related, and ended up talking and getting to talk about that piece that we were working on that day. Another thing that we do is kind of troubleshoot and show things. We're having some teachers talk about how Notebook 11 was opening rather slowly, and so we talked about some tips and strategies to help with that as well in dealing with that. And then, of course, we always have good food and fellowship. So I would also as people come, they receive an email afterwards that will be a follow-up with those minutes of the meeting. And then any files that were used, if there were games or something that was presented, then those are sent in an email to the people who have attended or our group in general. So if you're unable to attend, you're still able to see the meeting minutes. And then you also get a certificate that will go towards professional development. Our next meeting, which I just realized that we've got a little bit of a conflict, Heather, so we'll have to work on this. But we were set up to meet Tuesday, January 15th, at Lisa's school, Preston Hollow Presbyterian, from 4:30 to 5:30. So we'll have to. We have not sent that email out yet, but we may have to make some adjustments for that so that we can make use of all of our different user groups. If you're interested in starting up your own user group or need information, or you would like to come to our user group, please feel free to contact me. This is my contact information, my email address, and I'll put that on the back channel as well. And then my Twitter is @MendyHayes. So that's it.
Oh, thanks, Mendy. We'll negotiate. I think it's probably easier for me to change the date since I just announced it. So we'll negotiate. So I'm going to say that between Mendy and I, we'll negotiate. So my date may be changing. So those of you that are listening to this after the fact, we may change the date to that Thursday or to the following Tuesday. So yeah, we'll negotiate that. So I think I had that, and then my calendar has been kind of funky. a little bit, and so I think there's some things that I put and they've moved to other places, so I'm not really sure why that happens. Oh, right. So definitely reach out to Mendy because they have, and I have to give kudos, as Mendy said, to Lori Springer. She's got it down. If you're looking for a way to get it started, incredible the steps. She's thought through things, very, very detailed, and could probably tell you some things if you're looking for some ideas of what she did and how she brainstormed and stuff. So reach out to Mendy for that. With that, we did, even with our sound, and some of us, the sound we trickled off, so I'm hoping you guys can go back and watch this, but I'm glad that we are going to get a chance to I'm going to make Rafranz a presenter now, because we have Rafranz Davis, who is now joining us, and she's, as I said, switched schools to Grand Prairie High School. I want to tell you, I'm going to give kudos to her. If you're looking at a way to get someone to understand the value of smart products, Rafranz pretty much single-handedly got her district, which was a competitor district at her high school, to change, and I think it's a 21 boards or so purchase. She can talk more about that. Let me unmute her. But single-handedly, so she has the passion, the desire, and she made others believe of what was going to happen. So I'm thrilled, and I'm excited to say that, I'll get to work with her in developing the professional development plan and what we're going to do. So kudos to her. If you're looking for a way to get someone to listen to all of those things, she is your gal. So, Rafranz, that was a pretty good lead-in, huh?
It was, and I needed that lead-in following Mendy because that was pretty tremendous. I was pretty impressed with that presentation alone. Okay, so I am going to keep it short and sweet. Can you hear me?
We can. You're perfect. Yep.
Great. Okay, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I am going to talk to you today about the Notebook app that is currently in the App Store. It has gone through an update, which is good, and so some of the changes that I see maybe on the horizon, I feel very good and confident about it. If you buy the app by itself, it is $6.99, but if you have maybe a large enough amount where you would qualify for Apple's volume purchase program, you get it for way cheaper than that, so you might want to look into that. I do want to tell you that I am one of those people that I use kind of a lot of different apps for different purposes. I have all of the different whiteboarding apps, and I love those when I want my students to make videos, or I want to make a quick video, post it, and send it. But sometimes I really want them to perform maybe a task in particular with maybe some things that I create. So I'm just going to give you some tips to get that part accomplished. So there's some rules. Rules are, if you, for now, well, probably forever with Apple, but if it's flash-based, don't even put it in there. If you're considering putting it, the students using it on their iPads, widgets show up as images, but they are not active yet. And I say yet because I'm not sure what Smart has planned. They always manage to surprise us sometimes. Any object such as, I have math tools, but if I wanted to use the math tools, measurement tools that are there, you can't. If they're active objects, they're not going to work on the Notebook app. Also, what doesn't work on the Notebook app is animation, and that's not a bad thing. That's okay. Pull tabs work, erase reveal work, the layering works just fine, and I always get this thing confused. And the activity builder works. At every presentation I've ever done, I want to call that the active thingy. But it's the activity builder. It works just as fine too. So I wanted to actually mirror my iPad to my computer and show you, but school Wi-Fi doesn't quite like my reflection app or the little Apple device. Doesn't quite like that. And so I can record that later and show you, but I was pretty impressed that it did mirror when it did. So when the students would open this up in their iPad, this is how it would look. You get a basic screen. You have your basic tools here at the bottom, your selector tool, pens, your They can type into their screen, and they can do lines, and they can insert images, and they get that right up. I mean, they get that right off the bat. How they get the file onto their iPads, email it out to them if they have that. If not, do a classroom Dropbox. You can always post it into your wiki. But what's even cooler about the Notebook app is you can actually have students go and search for files on the Smart Exchange, and it downloads directly. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm going to go quickly in a couple of minutes. So here's an activity that we would have done in the Notebook app. These are just infinite cloners, which work just fine. So in the app, the students would have actually, classified the different quadrilaterals. And then I give them an additional tool to explain what distinguishes between convex and concave. And what's cool in the Notebook app is students can actually record sound. And so I put a little button, hold to record, so they hold it, and then they can do add sound, and they get 1 minute to record whatever would distinguish between convex and concave. So I thought that was cool because that's something they could share with each other or email back, or they have these files on their device so they can always go back to it and study later. And another thing is images. So this is one where I have them measuring the quadrilaterals. And so in the Notebook app, they can actually take this lovely image-only protractor that is located in the gallery tools, and they can actually measure and write in the angle measures. And of course, this is exactly how it would look in the Notebook app. Still looks exactly like it does on the screen. And then of course I added the part where what can you say about the sum of the interior angles of a concave polygon? Oh, my bad, that should be convex. I'll change that. And so then they just record it using the box, and that's it. I love that I found mistakes. That's cool. All right, and so the last thing I'm going to show you is just something that I would also have my students, and we'll be piloting an iPad program with our law students. And so just using a pen, the iPad pen on their screen, I'm actually having them perform, finding the midpoint of each side. The coordinate grid background is in the gallery, so they can pull that in and use it. Do the calculations, add whatever pieces they need to add, prove whatever type of quadrilateral it is, and email it back to me. And when they email it, it will open up as a notebook file. But I say email it back to me because this is also under the premise that when they email whatever they create, they can actually come up and present. Or if you have a school that allows you to mirror, the students can mirror their iPad screens from their devices to the big screen, and then they can do it from there. So that is all I'm going to share today. And follow me on Twitter because I will I'll do a little bit more detail, and I'll post the link.
All right, awesome. That was fast, but very robust. The one thing I wanted to say about the app that people think, so she referenced the app and the sharing. So the Notebook app doesn't allow you the ability to put the image up on the smartboard and touch. You would still touch the device. So I muted Rafranz, so I'm talking. So like on this particular thing, you would mirror, but they would touch their iPad to interact with everything, and it would show up. So there was some confusion when the Notebook app first came out that, oh my gosh, now I can touch the smartboard and interact with my device, and you can't do that. So it's not two-way communication, it's one way, but it is, I think, the value of being able to, it's a student-produced product. So you could give them a problem and then they can use it. So she's kind of going through these, and she's still up there on the screen showing, but these are what the teacher did, and then you see what she did, what's on the device. So today, and I'm going to go ahead and switch back over so we can get it's almost 5 o'clock, or it is 5 o'clock. So I told someone today what's really cool is that I can, let's say I'm doing parallel lines. I can go around my school and on a scavenger hunt and take evidence of parallel lines. What better authenticity or better accountability than me just putting out, say, is this a parallel line or a worksheet even? So think about the app is the creation tool, not consumer, and then talk about it. So that's the best thing is that, you know, sometimes with iPads, I think they're fabulous, but we become kind of passive, and we're doing singular things, not collaborative items. So maybe you record together, you brainstorm, and then you take turns and record something of what you think, or you talk about what you found, or your findings, or your, you know, if it's a science project or something, what did you predict and what was the outcome? So think, kind of stretch it beyond what is right there. I love the app, and I think it's just remarkable. There, if you go out, I've already updated to the new one, and as she said, you can infinite clone, you can do order now, you can unlock things, so it's really robust, and I think it allows for what it's supposed to be, is that consumer. And as she said, the flash doesn't work because it's a limitation of the device. So I know there's ways around Flash, but within the app, so the things that you would maybe use, like the lesson activity toolkit, but turn it into an activity builder. It's very easy to do. All right, it is past 5 o'clock, it's 5:02. So I wanted to thank you all for joining us. I put my website up, Heather's Digital Dashboard. Don't forget, you can go to Smart Texas, and that's where I'm posting the links. I will be posting, so stay tuned. So I will post the updated, and I'll send out a constant contact invitation. So the date that I will probably move mine because I think it's easier. So watch for that in the next week for the updated information on what day it is. You can go to my YouTube channel to view those past sessions. I will be updating my website to make it a little more current. So where it says resources, this will be the notebook files as well as the recording link. So you'll be able to see those. I haven't done a good job, and I apologize. And so we'll say that this date right here, we're going to figure that out. That's probably not going to be January 15th because I don't want to conflict. We are going to talk more about student engagement. How do you get those kids up to the board? What does it take to manage, and just some cool tips and tricks that I've seen for teachers and how they're doing some neat things. So student engagement can be a lot of different things, but it's using your smartboard as an event, and so you should use it every day in whatever capacity. So it's not today I'm going to use my smartboard. It's every day and all day, and making it those incredible learning opportunities. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and I would like to encourage you, if you have any questions or comments, and tell, if you want to see something, please let me know. If there's something you'd like to see me present, and up to ideas. Christina, I'm going to probably reach out to you because I've seen some stuff and you were advertised, so I'll be watching for an email. I think people would love to see what you're doing with your PPCD kiddos in Katy, Texas. So be watching. If you would like to volunteer and be one of our panelists, I would love for you to join us and be that. Everyone loves to hear your voice and the cool things you're doing. All right. With that being said, I'm going to sign off and be watching for your certificate, and have a wonderful holiday season in whatever capacity that you celebrate. And I will be in touch soon with some of you, and if you have any questions, let me know. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everyone.